I've heard that spicy food can make you go into labor. Or maybe it's like...
Also from friends.
Also from friends, yeah. You know, that's my main source of information.
We learn a lot. Yeah, who said you can't learn from television? Like... Hello and welcome to another episode of Pregopod. As you might know, last week we did an episode about myths and facts regarding pregnancy and childbirth. It turned out really interesting, as is this episode, which is actually part 2. So if you haven't heard last week's episode, I really recommend you to go to listen to that one first, because that one turned out, in my opinion, it turned out a lot better than this one, because I sound really tired in this one. But I hope nonetheless that you guys enjoy. So let's just jump into it right away.
Creams and oils can avoid stretch marks. And what I've heard is that stretch marks are pretty genetic. Like if you're genetically disposed to have stretch marks. But I also say that if you like that kind of thing, go for it and pamper yourself, you know.
Oh, we're so on the same level. This is a myth. So there's no evidence at all for certain oils and creams to work. And also these companies do say this in order to make a few extra bucks, and they're gonna be like, oh, it's very good, and it's coconut oil, you can use it on your tummy and you won't get any stretch marks, but there's no evidence to it at all. But I do recommend using something in the evening to just rub in your belly. It's the coziest time, and with your baby, it's actually you're interacting with the baby while you're doing that. And it's such a nice kind of a little ritual that you have and connection that you have with your baby. So I would say go for it.
Yeah, go for it. It's always good to take care of yourself also.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay, the shape of the belly can predict the gender of the baby. And I think there seems to be a lot of gender predicting theories or myths, and I think that none of them are true. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, yes, there's no way of finding out unless you do genetic testing on those cells, on the cells of the baby, or you look with ultrasound. So the shape of the belly has nothing to do with what gender it is, but the saying goes that if you do have a low belly, it's going to be a boy, and if you have a rounder belly, it's going to be a girl. But it's not true at all.
Yeah, that's what I've heard also. If you can't see you're pregnant from behind, you're having a boy. Something like that I've heard.
Yeah. There are a lot of myths like that. I've heard people use pendants and stuff as well to kind of to see which direction that the pendant goes, and it's fun to do.
The baby's genetic, gender magnet field of the baby or something. I have no idea how that will work.
There are so many crazy stuff, Petra. You have no idea. Let me tell you. Just listen out. So people actually, what people do is they boil red cabbage so that the water of the cabbage kind of releases, and then they mix it with their urine. And if it turns more of a pink color, then it's a specific gender, and if it turns more purple, then it's another gender. But I don't remember. And this is actually really true. You can do. No, it's not true at all.
Exactly. Everyone.
And I feel
bring your red cabbage.
Even if it was supposed to work, I would never have the patience to first boil something and then mix it with my pee and then wait 5 minutes to see what color that it turned out. But there are a lot of crazy out there stuff.
This is like, my jaw is dropped, and I'm just wondering, about the first woman who tried this.
Yeah.
How many different vegetables and cabbages did she boil before she decided that red cabbage?
She was like, this one's working. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. Okay, so the next one is similar. It's that the heart rate of a fetus can predict the gender. So I guess that's like the same answer.
Yeah, have you heard that one too?
Yeah, I have. But I don't remember if it's quicker than it's...
Yeah, I used to know this.
I don't remember which.
I used to know this. Like, if it's above 140, you're supposed to be having a girl. But it could be the other way around. I'm not sure. Because this is a myth. The normal heartbeat of a baby goes from 110 beats per minute to 160. And it has nothing to do with the gender of your baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've heard about a lot of these type of gender prediction things. And
yeah,
I think most people probably take them with a grain of salt. They don't think they actually work, but it's a fun thing to do.
It's a really fun thing to do. And I think I did that with my first. I was like, and I wrote it all up. I had these different, like, which side are you sleeping on, and do you break out or do you have perfect skin and stuff like that. So, but for me, it was like really 50-50. So, so it didn't work. But
half of them worked.
Yeah, half of them really worked. Yeah. So it's very reliable.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But it's a fun thing to do.
Okay, spicy food during pregnancy causes blindness in babies. I haven't heard this one either. I've heard that spicy food can make you go into labor. Or maybe it's
also
like
from
a
friends.
tip. I don't know if it actually also from friends. Yeah. We learn a lot source of information.
Yeah, who said you can't learn from television? Like
exactly. I mean, that's probably, we learn a lot of incorrect things from all television series and movies probably.
Yeah, so this one is not true. No, it's not true. I've never, like...
Good.
Yeah, Indian babies are born with vision. Not the greatest
great
vision.
Eyesight.
Yeah, great eyesight. No, it does cause heartburn, though. So...
The next myth is that you can't dye your hair. And I've heard this one too, but what I've heard is that you can't bleach your hair.
Yeah, there are variations of this. Like you can dye your hair, but it's not supposed to touch your scalp. And I've heard that one with bleach as well. Let me just say, like, during the 3 years of studying to become a midwife, I've never seen it on paper that you can't dye your hair, but most women do avoid like chemicals in general, especially during the first 3 months. So I think that's a wise thing to do if you're uncertain that you're kind of avoiding those chemicals, at least during the first 12 weeks if you're uncertain. But research also shows that you don't have those amounts of chemicals in today's packaging, so they're considered harmless. So you can dye your hair. And I actually heard this I heard this from my hairdresser, that like a lot of women do come in like just before giving birth to get like a nice hair color or a new haircut just before the birth. And yeah, that's something that I wouldn't have anything against if a mom that I knew was going to dye her hair. I would be like, you go, girl.
No. Yeah, exactly. Good. Especially like, you're gonna have a small baby soon. You probably won't have so much time on your hands to go to it.
Exactly. Why don't you do it after your birth when you have all the time?
On the way home, from the hospital.
Yes. You can do it then while breastfeeding.
The next one is that if you're pregnant, you can't have sex. I don't think this is true.
No, this is not true. You can have sex during your pregnancy. Some women do have an increased libido, and for other women, it's the complete opposite. So you just you just go with the flow and listen to your body. But what I do want to say, like sometimes you have like cervix insufficiency. So basically, your cervix isn't strong enough to not like hold it together, so it weakens, and but your doctor is going to tell you then that it's getting shorter, and that's the only reason that you shouldn't be having intercourse at that time. But otherwise, if your cervix is okay, then it's a-okay.
A-okay, go for it.
Yes.
Here we go. The next one is that you can't have coffee. And this, I feel like it is so devastating because I love coffee so much. But I think it's true. I think you can have coffee, but you cannot have like 5 cups a day. Maybe 1 or 2. Maybe 2.
Yeah.
Or 3.
Unfortunately, Petra, you're right. I'm so sad.
I'm so sad.
Yeah, because this is heartbreaking. Like you're it's not like alcohol. I feel like alcohol is something easier to give up, but coffee, oh my God, I have struggled so much with this. So basically what research shows is if you shouldn't have more than 200 milligrams. So that's if you have that 1 cup of coffee, that's enough. You can potentially have another cup. It kind of depends on how large that cup is, and if you're having a double, I would say I'm not recommending a double espresso, but like you really need to know how much caffeine is in the coffee. And it's not just about the coffee. Like if you're having coffee and then you're having Coke, basically you're getting more caffeine, so you have to really be thinking about that too. Also, tea has caffeine, and also like energy drinks, and so you have to be really careful with caffeine, because there are some research showing that it's associated with low birth weight. But yeah, if it's 1 cup of coffee, you enjoy that cup of coffee, you know?
Yeah, enjoy it. Yeah, my plan is to get some really, really nice caffeine-free coffee. Just for the placebo again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to work around that.
Gotta do what you can if you're addicted, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I felt like having a cup of coffee, like before calling you. I was feeling so down. I was like, oh, that would be great if I had a cup of coffee. Yeah. But first of all, it's way too late. And yeah. Also, like you have to be like, if you get pregnant, you have to put yourself a little bit to the side and make a few sacrifices. But this one's tough. This one's hard.
Okay, so the next one is that you can't have sushi. And I think that I can have sushi because I will have vegetarian sushi.
Yes. Because
I think it's all about the salmon, isn't it? It's like, if the salmon, I don't know, if it's been like frozen, it's okay, or is it the opposite?
Yeah, you're right. It's opposite is cooked, and that's fine. So, well,
no, but like if it's freshly caught this morning, you know.
Yeah. So actually, this is something I know in Sweden. You're actually allowed to have sushi, but some countries are really, really strict with the sushi, and they're like, you can't have any at all. And it's the same with the coffee, like coffee and alcohol. Some countries are like very, oh no, you're okay with coffee, and some people are like, no, not at all, some countries. So it really depends on where you are. But I'm going to tell you the logic behind not having sushi.
Yeah.
So basically you have this bacteria, you've probably heard of this, listeria. And so it's also in soft cheeses, which aren't allowed either in pregnancy. Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's the first thing I'm going to have after giving birth. So basically it's the same bacteria. So if the salmon is fresh and it's freshly prepared, that bacteria doesn't have the chance to grow. And so it's so important that it's a fresh package, but people like pregnant women do avoid it still, and it's the same thing. Like, also I didn't eat any sushi or any salmon in my 12 weeks, and even after that, and when I went to a restaurant to have sushi, I specifically asked if it was fresh, and then I also told them, I was like, I'm pregnant, so it has to be fresh.
Please be honest.
Yes, please be honest. And it was a really good restaurant, and it was in Sweden, where it was a proper sushi restaurant, and but it's up to you as a person if you want to take that risk. And the thing with listeria is you don't see a lot of listeria infections here in Belgium or in Sweden, but if you do eat food that is contaminated with listeria and your baby gets affected, then that's going to have major consequences for that child. So that's why we're so afraid and so strict with food that should be properly prepared, and also you have like smoked salmon. I love smoked salmon, but if it's not fresh, and also if you have freezed it beforehand for I think 3 to 4 days, then it's safe to have, because then you're killing all those potential bacterias. So this is kind of like a myth, but it's kind of also true in some countries that you can't have sushi. And also, like, I wouldn't go to America to have sushi, I don't think.
Yeah, because the food safety in different countries is so different.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, like, maybe a year or two ago, in Sweden, the food health, like, state body came out and said you didn't need to cook, like, if it was pork or chicken, I don't know, you don't need to cook it all the way through anymore, because the main, like, bacteria that you want to protect yourself from is on such low levels in the country now that it's practically not there.
Yeah.
So I think that differs so much between countries also. You need to really
Exactly.
it.
And, here you're still recommended to, like, every meat that you buy has to be well prepared and cooked fully. You can't have any raw meat. It's so important. And but obviously, like, those people that do go for sushi or do go for raw meat, I hope they're gonna do their research and really, like, get to the bottom of where that meat came from and how it was prepared.
Okay, so the next one is that an occasional glass of wine is okay. And what I'm thinking about when I hear this is that my mom told me that her doctor told her that when she was pregnant, like in the very final stages of pregnancy, he actually recommended her to have about half a glass of red wine to increase her red blood cell level. But so I think maybe, I don't know, I would say avoid alcohol unless your doctor tells you otherwise, and unless you also agree with your doctor.
Yeah, exactly. So this is exactly like the previous topics. It depends on from where you are. So in France, it would be weird to have like a zero tolerance policy. And also here in Belgium, I've heard doctors say that, oh, well, you have to live a little too. But, I think it's really important to specify what that live a little means. Because for some people, that means like a glass every day. And the doctor might be saying like half a glass in a week. But it is totally against all recommendations. Like if your doctor is telling you that, then like the guidelines are against this. And the science behind this is that the baby's liver is so immature and it can't handle even the smallest amounts of alcohol. Like for example, in Sweden, we do have the zero tolerance policy, and so that's what I'm sticking with as a midwife.
Yeah, babies are fragile. You gotta be, and the same goes here. I feel like also like if you can avoid something, it's you're not risking anything. Also, like if you can stick it out and wait. Yeah, exactly. So just like some people also crave alcohol, and I feel for those people. Like I understand how difficult it can be, but this is like something that research shows is very harmful for the baby. So you should avoid it at all costs. Yeah. Great. Okay, so from wine to milk is the next myth, is that drinking milk will, quote unquote, improve the baby's complexion and make it fairer. And when I read this, I was like, I've never heard this. I don't think this runs really in my circle, so I'm going to say no. I don't think milk will have any effect.
Okay, you're absolutely right, Petra. What I would be so mad if you were like, yeah, I think this one's actually true.
Yeah, for sure.
So no, this is like a common misconception in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh. I've heard so many people say this, like if you want a white baby, you have to drink a lot of milk. And I just get so upset every time.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, it's really, really, really sad. Because that's when you realize like how early on that systemic racism begins. So I do kind of have to bite my tongue talking to people that do believe this, and there are a lot of like similar misconceptions. Like I've heard people recommending watching photos or seeing photos of cute babies, so that way you're gonna have a cute baby as well, and people actually avoiding seeing certain types of people to avoid their baby being born like that. I also like, it's just not scientific at all. Like there's no logic between in that. And that's what's upsetting me.
Yeah, your baby is gonna be who the baby is gonna be depending on genetics and everything like that. You cannot affect it. I would hope you don't even want to affect it, because your baby's gonna come out all beautiful, super cute. Well, maybe not the first minutes, but it will be super cute after that.
Yeah. It just needs to unwrinkle a little bit.
Exactly. We all know how it is being in a pool too long. The next one is that twins are born a bit earlier and are also smaller at birth. And I think actually this is true. I think I'm gonna say yeah.
Yes, this is true, because there's a limitation to how much the uterus can grow, and also like how much blood the placenta can send out. So they are born a bit earlier, and they are also usually smaller at birth. So this one's absolutely true.
Okay, so we have arrived to baby birth. through pregnancy and conception and everything. So the first myth we have is that once you have a cesarean, you can't give birth vaginally. And I think I've heard about one woman who did have, I think, 2 or 3 C-sections, and she couldn't give birth vaginally, her 4th baby. But I'm not sure that it applies, if you have 1 C-section, because I think if you have 1, maybe it's still okay.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, some people do have a cesarean the first time. It can be because the baby is not head down and it's your first child and you don't want to risk, you don't want to take those risks.
I'm so dumb also. My older sibling was born with a C-section and I wasn't, so I know it works at least.
Really? Yeah. What was the reason behind that?
No, her first labor was like, I think 32 or 38 hours or something. So finally they got to the point where like, okay, we're getting into a bad zone. So
wow. Oh, that's amazing. That really gives me hope. So I really, really want to have a natural birth. Unfortunately, like the first time around, the baby's heart rate went so, like, it was so bad that I had to have a cesarean. So I'm really curious as to how this pregnancy is going to go and how this birth is going to be. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. Once you have a cesarean, it's false. Once you have a cesarean, you can give birth vaginally. But there is an increased risk of the uterus rupturing. So you have a wound at that place. So you have a scar, and that can, the uterus is already so big and stretched. So with contractions, you have an increased risk. But it's perfectly doable to first have a cesarean and then give birth vaginally. But it's like a 50-50 shot. So you can, by the next pregnancy, you can also have a cesarean again.
Yeah.
And also, like, a lot of, at least gynecologists here, they let the woman choose. Like, if you have had a cesarean, you don't need to take the risk of giving birth vaginally and potentially having that uterus rupture. But it's perfectly doable.
Yeah.
It is, well, I've heard of a woman having 2 cesareans and then having a 3rd birth vaginally, but it's not done here. Like, the recommendations are, if you've had 2 cesareans and you have 2 scars, then the 3rd time around, you're also going to be scheduled for a cesarean.
Yeah. Your tissue's going to be a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can be a hopeful case for your future.
Yeah, that really gave me hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
My labor, it was apparently super easy. I shot right out in like an hour. My mom says in the room, the doctor was there and he was like, oh, somebody catch the baby. Because I was just so quick. Oh. So easy. Yeah.
You were so quick. What happened afterwards? Now you're
slow.
Very slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only time Petra was on time.
Exactly. That was my moment, The next one is that moms instantly bond with their baby. And I think, like, because I've also thought about this before regarding, like, that maybe the dad or the partner has a harder time to bond with the baby until the baby is born, and that moms, have the bond from pregnancy, like, from the start. But I don't think that this is true. I think some moms probably have a hard time to feel like you have a bond. I don't think it's true for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's not true for everyone. There's what we do, like, as soon as the baby is born, is we do skin to skin contact so the baby gets to lie on the mother and just bond. But a lot of moms also acknowledge the fact that, and this is so tough, and I'm so impressed by those mothers that say we didn't feel that in the beginning, and it just came like after a day or two, that love and that bond thing. But it's such a big myth that they feel so bad about not feeling that instant bond. And it's so taboo because obviously for the moms that do feel that instant bond, they're going to be like, oh, it was so special and it was like all the pain was gone. But some moms feel like the stitching afterwards and feel the contractions of the placenta. The placenta has to come out still, so they're still not in that bonding mode, and that's completely fine. And you don't have to bond with your baby instantly, and you don't have to feel bad about not bonding.
Yeah. The next one is that good hips or small babies make for an easier birth. You know, you got them birthing hips, right?
Birthing hips.
Birthing hips. I don't think it's true, because I think you can probably, I don't know what like good hips mean. I assume like your pelvic bone, the outside will not reflect the inside. You know, you can probably have quite a hard time anyway. I don't think it's true. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, there is a bit of truth to it. So if you define good hips by how wide the inner circle of the pelvic area is, and you say, oh, it's quite wide, then you have good hips, and that is actually going to make the birth easier, especially when the baby is also on the smaller side. Obviously, like if you have a big baby and then a smaller pelvis, it's going to be more difficult. But the thing is, there's no way of finding out how good hips that you have beforehand. Like you can have like undergo an x-rays and stuff to find out, but usually it's not done.
You don't want to do that when you're pregnant either, do you?
No, and you can't see a woman and be like, oh, she got them good birthing hips.
No, yes. Exactly. I feel like you can't see. Wide hips on the outside doesn't necessarily mean like wide set pelvis on the inside.
Exactly. But it is like, if you do have a wide set pelvis and you do have a small baby, then it will be easier for that baby to come out, and that way lead to an easier birth, but it doesn't have to.
So the final one we have is that if you're pregnant with twins, you have to have a C-section. I've never actually heard about the delivery of twins, so I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna guess no. Also from Friends, I'm gonna say no.
Oh yeah, that's true. We've learned so much from Friends. Wow, that was such a good show. No, so if you're pregnant with twins, you don't have to undergo a C-section. It does depend on how the babies are lying. So first on their positions. To make it easier, if you have 2 placentas, you have 2 sacs, and you have 2 babies that are lying in a good position, and you have a good labor and strong contractions, then you are likely to have a very good twin birth.
How does that work? Do twins line up? Do they queue?
Yeah, so they both can lie head down, and they both can be head up. So they have these different positions. The worst position is if the first baby is coming down the bottom first. So it's a breech baby, yeah, and and the other baby is lying head down. So that's example of not being able to. You shouldn't be birthing those babies naturally, because their chins can interlock, and they're just going to be stuck that way in a really, really bad way, both babies.
Oh.
So that's really dangerous.
Whoa.
So preferably they're going to be both head down, but it's also possible to birth the first child head down and then the second child in breech. Believe it or not, we have reached the end of this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been absolutely lovely. Keep the feedback coming, and thank you guys for showing your support. It means the world to me. And hopefully I'll hear from you next week in a new episode of Prego Pod. Bye!